Thank you for joining me here today, and what a beautiful day it is, and welcome. And welcome to an extract from Story of a Soul by St. Therese, titled Her Mother's Death and Her Father's Tenderness. All the details of my mother's illness are still present to me, and I recall especially the last week she spent on earth. Celine and I were like two poor little exiles, for every morning Madame Larec came to get us and brought us to her home, where we spent the day. One morning we didn't have time to say our prayers, and during the trip Celine whispered, "Did we tell her we didn't say our prayers?" "Oh yes," I answered. So very timidly Celine told Madame Larec, who said, "Well, my little girls, you will say them." And placing us both in a large room, she left. Celine looked at me and we said, "Oh, this is not like Mama. She always had us say our prayers with her." When we were playing with the children, the thought of our dear mother was with us constantly. Once Celine was given a beautiful apricot, and she bent down and said to me, "We are not going to eat it. I will give it to Mama." Alas, poor little mother was already too sick to eat the fruits of the earth. She was to be satisfied only in heaven with God's glory, and was to drink the mysterious wine he spoke about at the Last Supper, saying he would share it with us in his Father's kingdom. The touching ceremony of the last anointing is also deeply impressed on my mind. I can still see the spot where I was by Celine's side. All 5 of us were lined up according to age, and Papa was there too, sobbing. The day of Mama's departure, or the day after, Papa took me in his arms and said, "Come, kiss your poor little mother for the last time." Without a word, I placed my lips on her forehead. I don't recall having cried very much, neither did I speak to anyone about the feelings I expressed. I looked and listened in silence. No one had any time to pay any attention to me, and I saw many things they would have hidden from me. For instance, I was standing before the lid of the coffin, which had been placed upright in the hall. I stopped for a long time gazing at it. Though I'd never seen one before, I understood what it was. I was so little that in spite of Mama's small stature, I had to raise my head to take in its full height. It appeared large and dismal. The day the church blessed the mortal remains of our dear mother now in heaven, God willed to give me another mother on earth. All 5 of us were gathered together, looking at each other sadly. Louise was there too, and seeing Celine and me, she said, "Poor little things, you have no mother any more." Celine threw her arms around Marie, saying, "Well, you will be my Mama." Accustomed to following Celine's example, I turned instead to you, Mother, and as though the future had torn aside its veil, I threw myself into your arms, crying, "Well, as for me, it's Pauline who will be my Mama." I must admit, Mother, my happy disposition completely changed after Mama's death. I, once so full of life, became timid and retiring, sensitive to an excessive degree. One look was enough to reduce me to tears, and the only way I was content was to be left alone completely. I could not bear the company of strangers, and found my joy only within the intimacy of the family. And still I continued to be surrounded with the most delicate tenderness. Our father's very affectionate heart seemed to be enriched now with a truly maternal love. You and Marie, Mother, were you not the most tender and selfless of mothers? Ah, if God had not shown his benefit rays upon his little flower, she could never have accustomed herself to earth, for she was too weak to stand up against the rains and the storms. She needed warmth, the gentle dew, and the springtime breezes. Never were these lacking. Jesus had her find them beneath the snow of trial. I experienced no regret whatsoever at leaving Alencon. Children are fond of change, and it was with pleasure that I came to Lisieux. Each afternoon I took a walk with Papa. We made our visit to the Blessed Sacrament together, going to a different church each day, and it was in this way we entered the Carmelite chapel for the first time. Papa showed me the choir grille and told me there were nuns behind it. I was far from thinking at that time that 9 years later I would be in their midst. I loved God very much and offered my heart to Him very often. During the walks I took with Papa, he loved to have me bring alms to the poor we met on the way. On one occasion we met a poor man who was dragging himself along painfully on crutches. I went up to give him a coin. He looked at me with a sad smile and refused my offering, since he felt he wasn't poor enough to accept alms. I cannot express the feeling that went through my heart. I wanted to console this man, and instead I had given him pain, or so I thought. The poor invalid undoubtedly guessed at what was passing through my mind, for I saw him turn around and smile at me. Papa had just bought me a little cake, and I had an intense desire to give it to him, but I didn't dare. However, I really wanted to give him something he couldn't refuse, so great was the sympathy I felt towards him. I remembered having heard that on our first communion day we can obtain whatever we ask for, and this thought greatly consoled me. Although I was only 6 years old at this time, I said, "I'll pray for this poor man the day of my first communion." I kept my promise 5 years later, and I hope God answered the prayer He inspired me to direct to Him in favour of one of His suffering members. I want to thank you for listening today, and perhaps we could do a reflection on this. Her passion for Jesus, her passion for God, her passion to help others, her joy in finding that, in finding meaning in our lives. If we are lacking meaning in our lives, this is where we find it, through prayer for others. As she says, her little ways. We never know how we are influencing people in the way we act, in our prayer life, in our faith life. We will never know. But we see here that it makes a tremendous difference. From the very young, it makes a tremendous difference in their lives. Feeling the security of love from God and from Jesus. It truly is a beautiful thing. It's a miraculous thing. It is transforming. And please, viewers, please take the invitation from St. Therese and pray a novena to her, because she wants to help you. She's promised us that she hears us and will pray and intercede for us. Whatever it is today, remember you can make a difference in this world by praying for others and planting a seed. And planting a seed for others, so that with that nurturing, they're going to have a much, much happier life, a much more peaceful life, and always know that they are loved. Always. For God promises, "I will not leave you orphans, I will never abandon you." And that promise He showed to St. Therese all through her life. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you.